Hi everyone, this is Reema, your biology educator from V-Learning. So as you know that V-Learning is an online educational platform where we provide quality education for all. So to get all the benefits from our channel, do subscribe to it and also don't forget to visit to our website, that is www.v-learning.in, where you will be getting all the pre-recorded classes, live classes, the animated videos and also the PDF notes of all these topics. So let's begin today's session. So what we are going to learn in today's session? So we have already learned about the absorption of water. That is how water and ions are being absorbed through the roots, right? And we are in chapter number 11, which deals with transport in plants. We are learning about how the transportation of the water, minerals, and the food is being done in case of the plants, right? And in our last class you have seen that how the water is being absorbed, right? That is absorption of water by the roots. So we you have learned about that there are various pathways, that is the Apoplast pathway and the Simplast pathway in the roots, right? So through this Apoplast and the Simplast pathway, the water is being transported to the xylem, right, to the trachea of the xylem, and the xylem, it carries the water to all the parts of the plants, right? And that is through the transpiration pool and root pressure, right? All the things we have covered in our last class. So what we are going to learn in today's class? So in today's class we are going to learn about the transpiration. What is this transpiration, right? And how does exactly transpiration happen? What is the function of the stomata in the plant? And we will see the various parts of the stomata. We will see the various cells of the stomata and how the stomata is functioning. What is the function of the transpiration in plant? Why transpiration is very much essential to the plants, and also we will be learning about how the mineral ions are being transported through the active and the passive pathway, and also you will see that how the minerals are being translocated from one part of the plant to another, and at last you will be learning about the Phloem transportation. That is phloem, you know, that which is responsible for the transportation of food in plants, right? And where food is prepared, it is prepared in the leaves, you know that, right? So from the leaves, how the food will be transported to the roots and to the various parts of the plant. So we will be learning about the mass flow hypothesis, that is the source and the sink relationship. Okay, so let's begin today's session, and this is your lecture number 4. So see, transpiration, as I said, okay, that we will be learning about transpiration. You already know what is transpiration, right? So what is this transpiration? Transpiration is nothing but the loss of water from the leaves of the plants, right? So what is this transpiration? Transpiration is a process, that is, it is the evaporative loss of water by plants. Now, here you can see this picture, right? So in the leaves, you can see the water drops or not, right? So the transpiration is nothing but the loss of water from the leaves of the plants. So from where the water is being lost? In the leaves, you know that in the leaves, the stomata is present, okay? In the leaves, the stomata, which is made up of guard cells, right? So this stomata, what is the function of this stomata? The function of the stomata is what? That is exchange of gases, right? Respiration in plant takes place with the help of stomata. So another function is stomata is transpiration. Okay, transpiration also takes place with the help of stomata. Okay, stomata is responsible for the process of transpiration, that is loss of water also takes place. It's because of stomata. It is another function of stomata. So it occurs mainly through the stomata in the leaves, right? Clear? So as I have shown that stomata, it is present in the leaves, right? So it occurs, stomata has got various apparatus like this. These are known as stomatal apparatus, okay? And these are what? These are the guard cells, which looks like kidney bean shaped like structure. Okay, we take this rajma beans, right? So this is exactly bean shaped structure, the structure of stomata. So besides the loss of water vapor in transpiration, exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the leaf also occurs through pores called stomata. So by now we know that what is the function of stomata? That is exchange of gases, and the transpiration is the function of stomata. So let us learn the structure of stomata in detail. So see, transpiration. What happens in transpiration? In transpiration, loss of water takes place, right? Loss of water takes place from the leaves, right? From the leaves, isn't it? So stomata is responsible for gases exchange. As you know that in the leaves, when you see the leaves, you will see these tiny pores. Okay, what are the stomata? The stomata are nothing but the tiny pores which are present in leaves. So these are the tiny pores which you will see in the leaves. Okay, stomata are the tiny pores which are present in the leaves. So stomata is responsible for gases exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, so see, stomata are the openings that helps in gaseous exchange. Okay, so exchange of what? Oxygen and carbon dioxide, right? Stomata opens at daytime and closes at night time. So when does the stomata opens? The stomata opens during the daytime. Okay, the daytime the stomata opens. Okay, so you can see the small openings on the underside of the leaves are called stomata. So here in the leaves, you can see this small openings, and the structure of the stomata is also clearly visible, isn't it? This is the structure of stomata. These are all the guard cells. Clear? So next, stomata. Okay. The immediate cause of the opening or closing of the stomata is a change in the turgidity of the guard cells. So the stomata, as you know that it opens and closes. So how is the structure of the stomata? This is like this. Let me first draw the closed stomata. Okay, closed stomata. The stomata here it is closed. Okay, this is what? This is closed stomata. Now, this is what? Closed stomata. When does the stomata close? The stomata closes during the night time. Okay, and when does the stomata opens? The stomata opens during the, this is the diagram of the open stomata. Okay, the guard cells, they open and close. Okay, they open and close. So these are what? These are the stomatal apparatus. Okay, these are the stomatal apparatus. Now, stomata is also having an outer covering that is known as epidermis. Okay, the outer covering of the stomata is known as epidermis. Okay, and what are these? These are stomatal, these are stomatal apparatus. Okay, apparatus. Now see, these are what? This bean-shaped structure. Okay, these cells are named as what? These cells are named as guard cells. Okay, guard cells. Now, when the opening and the closing of the stomata takes place, when does the stomata opens? The stomata opens during the day or night time. It is during the daytime. The daytime, the stomata opens. Okay, so when the opening and the closing of the stomata takes place, okay, it results what? It results, or there is a change in turgidity of the guard cells. Okay, that is, the shape of the guard cells also changes. Okay, shape of the guard cells also changes because of the constant moving of the water, okay, inside the cells. So the inner wall of each guard cell towards the pore is thick, okay, and elastic. So what about the inner walls? Okay, let me show this diagram. So yes, okay, okay. Now this, okay, this is like this. Okay, now the inner walls, okay, this is the inner wall. Let's say these are the inner walls. Okay, the inner walls of the stomata are what? The inner walls of the stomata are thick, thicker, okay? That is thicker. The inner walls of the stomata are thicker and elastic, okay? These are, the inner walls are thicker and what? And elastic, okay? Thicker and elastic. Whereas the outer walls, okay? These are what? These are the inner walls. These are the inner walls of the stomata. Now, what about the outer walls? The outer walls of the stomata, these are the outer walls, okay? These are the outer walls of the stomata. These are thinnest, okay? These are the thin walls. These are what? These are the thin walls. So the outer walls are the thin walls, which helps in the movement of molecules. Okay, what it does, it helps in the movement of molecules. Okay, the outer walls, it helps what? It helps in the movement of movement of molecules, okay? Movement of oxygen, okay? Carbon dioxide inside and outside the cell, okay? Next, now see, these are what? These are the stomatal apparatus. So when the stomata, it closes and opens, it becomes what? Turgid. The cells, it becomes turgid, okay? So the inner wall of the gut cell towards the port has got stomatal aperture. So the inner walls, okay, these are the stomatal aperture which are present towards what? Which are present towards the stomatal aperture, towards the gut cells, okay, towards the gut cells. So as you can see, these are the gut cells, right? So the stomatal aperture are present towards the gut cells. Next, when turgidity increases within the two gut cells flanking each stomatal aperture or port, the thin outer walls bulge out and force the inner walls into a crescent shape. Now, what happens when there is more movement of molecules inside the outer wall? Okay, so the outer wall will become larger in size, okay, and the shape of the inner wall, the shape of the inner wall will be changed. It becomes how? Like it becomes the crescent shape, okay, crescent shape, and it becomes the outer wall, it becomes large, okay. The thin outer walls, it becomes large because of turgidity, because of turgidity, that is, it has occupied what? It has occupied more minerals or more water, okay, from the outside, because of which it bulges, because of which it is bigger in size now, okay, and the inner wall, it changes its shape, okay, it changes into crescent shape, okay. The opening of the stomach is also aided due to the orientation of the microfibrils in the cell walls of the gut cells. Now, what does it mean? Okay, so the stomata, this is the stomata. Okay, now in the stomata, the opening and the closing is also marked by the various that is, they have got what? Microfibrils in the cell walls of the gut cells. So this is the gut cells, okay. In the cell wall of the gut cells, in the cell wall of the gut cells, they have what? They have microfibrils, okay. These are arranged radially, okay, in the cell wall. This is the cell wall of the gut cells, okay. This is the cell wall. This is the cell wall of what? This is the cell wall of the gut cells, where the various microfibrils, these are all the microfibrils, okay. These are all the microfibrils, cellulose microfibrils, okay. These are arranged in a radial manner. So these are all the cellulose microfibrils, okay, microfibrils, which are arranged radially, okay. These are not arranged longitudinally. These are arranged how? These are arranged radially. These are arranged radially. Clear? Now, these microfibrils, the arrangement of these microfibrils in a radial fashion, it helps in the opening and the closing of the stomata. So you can see that the microfibrils are arranged radially, right? So this microfibrils, cellulose microfibrils, what it does, it helps in the opening and the closing of the stomata. Okay. So yes. Next, the cellulose microfibrils are oriented radially rather than longitudinally. So as I said that how they are arranged, the cellulose microfibrils, they are arranged in a radial manner, okay, making it easier for the stomata to open, okay. So what it does, it helps in the opening and the closing of the stomata. When the gut cells lose turgor due to water loss, okay, the elastic inner walls region that is regain their original shape and the gut cells become flaccid and the stomach closes. Okay, now see here, as we have seen that because of the movement of molecules, okay, the outer wall, it became larger in size, right? Now when this the gut cells, that is the thin outer walls, it loses water, okay, it loses water, the inner walls again comes back to its original shape. Okay, so when this, yes, so when this outer walls, okay, yes, when this outer walls, it loses water, when this outer walls, it loses water, it again comes, that is the inner walls, it comes to its original shape. Okay, so because of the loss of water, the inner walls, which you can see here, the inner walls, okay, it became smaller, right? It became crescent shape because more number of water got occupied in the outer walls, right? Because of which the outer walls, it burst, right? Because of turgor pressure. Now when the outer walls, when this outer wall, it is losing water, so what happens, the inner wall, it will again come back to its, comes to its original shape, comes to original shape. Okay, comes to original shape. Clear? Next, yes. So, when the guts are loose, turgor due to water loss, what happens? The elastic inner walls regain the original shape, right? Clear this one? The gut cells become flaccid. Flaccid means loose, okay? And the stoma closes, and the stoma closes. So this is how the opening and the closing of the stomata takes place, okay? How the closing of the stomata takes place? It is because of what? It is because of the that is the loss of water from the outer walls of the gut cells. Okay, when there is loss of water from the outer walls of the gut cells, the inner walls of the gut cells, it will come back to its original shape. Okay, and the stomata, it will close now. Okay, so as you can see here, these are what? These are the stomatal pores. So in center you can see this pore, right? This is the stomatal pore, and this is the chloroplast. Now you know that chloroplast, right? It is the place, or it is the kitchen of the cell where the photosynthesis takes place, isn't it? So yes, chloroplast. Then you can see that these are the various stomatal apparatus. This stomatal apparatus is called as the subsidiary cells. Okay, the stomatal apparatus is called what? Subsidiary cells, and these are what? These are the gut cells. These are the gut cells, right? And this is the stomatal pore, right? And this is what? This is the epidermis. Epidermal cells are what? Epidermal cells are the outer covering of any part of the plant. It may be root, it may be leaves, it may be stem, everywhere, okay, the epidermal cells are present. Clear? Yes. Now next, let us move into the next topic, that is factors affecting transpiration. Now, so far you know that transpiration, how it takes place. Transpiration, it is taking place because of the loss of water from the stomata of the leaves, right? And you have seen that how the stomata, it opens and closes, isn't it? You have seen the what are the two types of walls present in the stomata, that is the outer wall and the inner wall, right? The outer one is thin, the outer wall of the stomata is thin, right? And the inner wall is thick, isn't it? So yes, Now, let us see the factors affecting transpiration. So, the number and the distribution of the stomata. There are some internal factors and there are some external factors. Okay, so some of the internal factors are like number and distribution of stomata. That is, it depends upon what is the number of stomata present in that particular leaves. Okay, what is the number of stomata and how the stomata are distributed in a particular leaf. Okay, percentage of open stomata. Okay, transpiration will take place when the stomata is only open. Okay, when the stomata is open, then only there will be loss of water in the form of water vapor, right? So it depends on the percentage of what depends on the percentage of open stomata. Next, water status of the plant. What is the water status of the plant? How much amount of water is present in that plant? Okay, so next, canopy structure. What do you mean by this canopy structure? Now see, you have seen that some of the trees, okay, where the leaves are, leaves are hidden. Okay, so when the leaves are hidden, they will not face what? They will not face the sunlight, isn't it? When the leaves are hidden. So this structure, okay, this structure, you have seen that some plants are arranged in that manner. Okay, some trees are arranged in that manner, how the leaves are hidden. Okay, inside they form a structure that is known as what? That is known as canopy structure. So in those canopy structure, the sunlight will not be reaching to the leaves. Okay, so the sunlight will not be reaching to the leaves. So in that case, the stomata, right, the stomata of the plant will not be getting sunlight, right? So in that case, the transpiration is affected. That is, much loss of water will not take place from those type of plants. Next, yes. So some other factors, the transpiration driven ascent of xylem sap depends mainly on the following physical properties. Okay, so what are the following physical properties on which the transpiration depends? Okay, now what do you mean by this xylem sap? So xylem sap means what? The food. Okay, the food which is being provided by the xylem in the form of water and mineral ions. Clear? Xylem sap means what? Xylem sap means the water, and the xylem sap means the water and the mineral ions Clear? So, yes. Cohesion. Okay, what is this cohesion? So, the mutual attraction between water molecules. When the water molecules, they are not attracting to each other, in that case, it will affect the process of transpiration. So, cohesion should take place in case of the water molecules. Okay, then adhesion. Adhesion means attraction of water molecules to the polar surface. Okay, that is the surface of the trachea element. Then inside the xylem has got various elements, right? Trachea, vessel, right? So the water molecules should go and attach to the trachea, okay, through which it will be transported. For example, this is a plant, let's say, and this is the xylem, okay? This is the xylem, and here under the soil, various mineral ions are there, right? So from here, the mineral ions will be transported through the trachea of the xylem, right? Through the trachea of the xylem. So here what happens? Transpiration will take place, isn't it? So it is moving upwards, right? So these molecules should go and attach to the trachea. This molecule should go and attach to the trachea. That is called as adhesion, okay? Sure. So, the attraction of water molecules to the polar surface should take place for the process of transpiration. And the surface tension, what do you mean by this? The water molecules are attached to each other in the liquid phase more than the water in the gas phase, okay? So this is also one of the factor for the process of transpiration. Now let's move into the next topic, that is the function of transpiration in plants. So in the previous topics, you have seen the factors affecting the transpiration, right? Now you will learn about the that is the function. What is the function of transpiration in plants? Okay, transpiration is very, very much essential for the plants because it helps in the process of photosynthesis. Okay, so yes, it supplies water for photosynthesis. Okay, transpiration, what it does, it supplies water for the process of photosynthesis. You know that for the process of photosynthesis, water is also one of the essential element, isn't it? So it transfers water, it supplies water. Next, it creates transpiration pool for the absorption and the transport of plants, right? So what it does, it is creating transpiration, is creating transpiration pool, right? As we have seen in the previous topic that here transpiration pool we have discussed, right? Because of this transpiration pool, the mineral ions which are present here, they will be moving upwards, isn't it? And they will go to the different parts of the plants like leaves, isn't it? Then stem, isn't it? Because it is occurring because of what? It is occurring because of transpiration pool. Transpiration pool. Is that clear? Next. So, transport minerals from the soil to all parts of the plants. Yes. So, as the transpiration pool is happening, so it will be transferring the minerals from the soil to different parts of the plants, right? Next. So, cools the leaf surface sometimes to 10 to 15 degree by evaporating cooling. Okay, what it does, it cools the surface of the leaf. Okay, so what is the degree? 10 to 15 degree. Okay, 10 to 15 degree by evaporating cooling. Okay, evaporative cooling maintains the shape and structure of the plants by keeping the cells turgid. Okay, turgid means what? Turgid means rigid, providing protection to the plant cell. Okay, turgid means rigid, rigid means hard. Okay, rigid means hard, that is, it is providing turgidity to the cells of the plant. Okay, these are the various functions of the transpiration. Clear? Now let's move into the next topic, that is uptake of mineral ions. Now so far you have learned about the minerals ions, right? That is, you have seen that xylem is responsible for transferring the mineral ions, right? So how this uptake of mineral ion is taking place in case of this xylem? How it does? Yes, it does by the process of active. How the transport of mineral takes place? It is by the process of both active and passive transport. Okay, active and passive transport. Passive transport. So in case of xylem, both active and passive transport is involved in the translocation of minerals. Okay, in the translocation of minerals, that is transferring the minerals. Okay, translocation means what? Transferring from one place to another. So translocation of minerals takes place both by the active and the passive transport. Now see, yes. So this is a plant. Okay, this is a plant. Here are the various, okay, where are the roots? So plant also will be having the various roots under the soil, right? So the plant is having root. So these are all the roots, right? So here the mineral ions are present. Okay, the mineral ions are present here. Okay, so the mineral ions needs to be transported with the help of what? With the help of these roots, right? The root is the source. Okay, so can we tell this one as the source of mineral ion? This is the source. That is, root is the source of mineral ions, right? So this is what? This is the source where the mineral ions are present. All these are what? All these are the ions. Okay, all these are ions. Now these ions needs to be transported from the soil to different parts of the plants also, isn't it? So how it is done? It is done by the xylem. right? It is done by the xylem. So these ions, okay, yes, these ions will be transported to different parts of the plants, like it will be transported to the stem, right? Then it will be transported to the growing branches. It will be transported to the apical meristem, right? To the leaves, isn't it? So it will be transported to various parts. Okay, so all the minerals is being required by the stem, by the flower, by the root, by the stem, by the flower, right? By the apical meristem, isn't it? By the growing shoot tip, right? So this is known as what? This place where the minerals will be transported, it is known as sink. It is known as what? It is known as sink. So here what happens? Here what happens is the loading, okay? That is the loading of the mineral ions should take place from the roots to the different parts of the plants, right? So where the mineral ions are present, it is called a source, clear? And where it will be transported to different part, it is known as sink. Is that clear? So who is responsible for that? It is the xylem. So here the xylem tissue is present, okay? This is the xylem tissue, right? This is the xylem tissue. So it will be carrying all the minerals. It will be carrying all the minerals through the trachea. Okay, trachea is a non-living cell, right? Trachea is a non-living cell. So it will be carrying all the minerals to different parts of the plants, right? To different parts of the plants. Is that clear? This is what this is the uptake of mineral ion, how it is taking place. So in that case, what happens? The ATP is being that is here the molecules are being transferred from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, right? So that is the diffusion is being taking place. Some of the molecules are transferred with the help of facilitated diffusion, okay? Those cannot cross the plasma membrane. Yes. Now next, see, most minerals which enter the roots by active absorption into the cytoplasm of epidermal cells. So why the minerals are absorbed by the epidermal cells? Because minerals are present in the soil as charged particles, that is ions, which cannot move across the cell membranes. So these mineral ions, that is, yes, ions, they are what? They are the charged particles, okay? These are what? These are the charged particles like K plus and A plus ions, okay? Like for example, sodium, okay, potassium, okay, K plus Na plus, okay. These are the charged particles which cannot move easily. So the concentration of mineral ion in the soil is usually lower than the concentration of minerals in the roots, okay. So the concentration of mineral ions in the soil is what? Here the concentration of the mineral ion is lower, okay. Here, the concentration of mineral ion, that is in the soil. In the soil, the concentration of the mineral ion is lower, whereas what? That is then the concentration of mineral ions in the roots, okay? So here in the roots, okay, here in the roots, the concentration of mineral ion is higher, okay? So as it is moving from lower to higher, so it is against the concentration gradient, clear? So you have seen that when the molecules move from the low to high, okay, from molecules move from low to high, that is, it is against the concentration gradient. So here there is ATP, there is requirement of energy, active transportation is required, okay. So here it is against the concentration gradient, okay, as the molecules are moving from lower concentration to higher concentration, right? So it is against the gradient, it is against the gradient concentration, okay, because the molecules are moving from lower to higher concentration and there is requirement of ATP. So for moving the charged particles, you have studied that there is a pump, requirement of pump, right? Na plus K plus pump You have studied, right? It is responsible for what? That is active transportation taking place. Active transportation of the ions is taking place. Clear? So here what happens? Active transportation of ions takes place with the help of what? With the help of this Na plus K plus pump, okay? Because the molecules are present at what? Ions are present at that is higher concentration in the soil than in the root. Sorry, lower concentration in the soil, and in the roots you can see they are present at higher concentration. So from low to high it is moving, isn't it? So yes, next let us see that the active transport needs energy. So here we have talked about active transport, right? That is the Na plus K plus pump is required to move the ions, right? So the active transportation, it always requires energy in the form of what? In the form of ATP. So you have seen here, right? So the active transportation, it requires energy in the form of ATP. So there is a requirement of energy in the form of ATP because the molecules are moved against the concentration gradient. Yes. So the active uptake of iron is partly responsible for the water potential gradient into roots and therefore for the uptake of water by osmosis. Okay. So how the movement of molecules takes place? By the osmosis. So some ions also move to the epidermal cells passively. So as we have said that uptake of minerals also takes place passively. That is passive transportation also takes place here. Okay. That is molecules are transported passively. Okay. Some of the molecules are transported through passive transportation also. That is what? That is through diffusion. Okay. Or osmosis. Yes. Now absorption of ions. So how the ions are being absorbed by the roots. Okay. So both the passive and active transport is involved. So as I said that, so for the absorption of ions, both the active and the passive transport is involved here. Okay. So ions are absorbed by both active and passive transport. So there are specific proteins. So there are also some specific proteins, as we have learned that some of the proteins like porins, right? So these proteins, they helps the molecules which cannot cross the plasma membrane, that is the channel proteins or the carrier proteins, right? So these are what? These are the specific proteins which are present in the membranes of root hairs, actively pump the ions from the soil to the cytoplasm of the epidermal cells. Okay. So in the root hairs, okay, in the root hairs, what happens? Some of the specific proteins are also present. Okay. So some of the specific proteins are also present. Okay. So these proteins, what they do? These proteins, it helps in the absorption of what? In the absorption of ions. In the absorption of ions, there are some ions which are bigger in size, which cannot absorb to the root hairs. So it is being absorbed by the specific proteins like the channel proteins, carrier proteins. Okay. So what are the specific proteins? Like channel protein. Okay. Then carrier protein. Okay. Let me write with red color. Okay. Carrier protein. So these are the proteins which helps in the absorption of these ions. Okay, the ions will come and absorb to the roots and it will move into the cytoplasm. Where? In the cytoplasm of what? In the cytoplasm of the epidermal cells. Okay, so it will move into the cytoplasm of the epidermal cell. Okay. So these are the ions. This will be moved with the help of specific proteins. Okay. Next, like all cells, the endodermal cells may have transport proteins embedded in the plasma membrane and they let some solutes cross the membrane but not others. Okay, so we have already learned about the structure of the roots in your anatomy of the plant, right, where you have seen that the roots has got various parts like epidermis, cortex, endodermis, pericycle, and that vascular tissue inside the pericycle, right? So here we are talking about roots, so you should know the various arrangement of the various cells, okay, inside the roots. So see, some of the endodermal cells also inside the roots will be having some proteins which helps in the movement of this ions. Clear? Yes. Now, translocation of mineral ions. So how does this translocation of mineral ions takes place? So see, yes, let's say this is a plant. So this plant is having some older leaves, okay? Some older leaves and some new leaves, okay? Some new leaves are coming out. Got it? Now, these leaves, okay? These leaves, so as you know that the molecules will be translocated through the, that is the, through the xylem and through the phloem, okay? PHLOEM. Okay. So phloem will transport the food and xylem will transport the water plus the ions or the minerals. Okay. Now, in case of this, okay, in case of this plant, okay, this is a plant, okay, right? So it will be having various minerals, okay. As you know that we human being needs nutrition for the growth and division. The plants also need some of the mineral nutrients in the form of macronutrients and micronutrients. So various macronutrients and micronutrients it will be absorbing from the soil, okay. So in the soil, okay, it will absorb the various nutrients from the soil in the form of ions, right, minerals, isn't it? So this will be transported from one part of the plant to different parts of the plant, right? And from the leaves, the food will be transported from the leaves to the roots, isn't it? Now, some of the minerals, okay, what happens when, that is this leaves, okay, that is during the time of senescence. Now, what is the senescence? SENESCENCE, okay. During the time of senescence, senescence means what? Death. Okay, you see that some of the leaves will be falling down in the road, isn't it? So they have attained to a reproductive, they have attained to a stage in the life, okay, where that is the death takes place, okay. They have lost the ability to grow and divide further, okay. So the minerals which will be present here in the older leaves, okay, the minerals which will be present in the older leaves, so before these leaves undergo the senescence, senescence means nothing but the fall of leaves, okay, before the leaf fall, okay, that is aging. Basically we can see that aging, okay. Senescence means aging. So senescence means what? Aging, okay. So before the leaf falls off, these molecules, what it does, these mineral ions, it will be transporting to this, okay, to these young leaves, to these young leaves. Clear? So this mineral ions, it will be transporting to this leaves through the phloem. Through what? Through the phloem. They will be transporting this mineral ions from the older leaf to the younger leaves, okay, to the younger leaves which were growing in the apical meristem, okay. So this is called as what? This is called as the translocation of the mineral ion. Clear? Yes. After the ions have been reached to the reached to active or passive uptake, so when the ions will be reached to the active and the passive pathway or combination of two, their further transport up into the stem of all parts of the plant is through the transpiration stream. So when the minerals will be reached through the xylem by the active and the passive pathway, they will be transferred to all the parts from the soil to the leaves, to the flower, to the stem, right? Through the transpiration stream. Is that clear? Next. The chief sinks for the mineral elements are the growing regions of the plants, such as the apical and lateral term. Okay, now you know what is sink. Okay, sink means where the minerals will be deposited. So see, source means what? Here the source is the soil. Here the source is the soil from where the mineral ions are being taken up, isn't it? And the sink is what? The sink is this the young leaves. That is the apical meristem and the lateral meristem. Okay, here the new buds comes out, new leaves comes out, that is the shoot tip grows and divides, isn't it? That is the sink where the minerals needs to be transported. Clear? So these younger leaves, okay, these are what? These are the sink where the minerals needs to be deposited. That is the developing flowers, the fruits, the seeds, and the storage organs, right? Yes, unloading of mineral ions occurs at the fine vein ending through diffusion and active uptake by these cells. So here from the source, what happened? From the source, here the loading took place. Here the loading of mineral ions took place here, right? Here the loading took place, right? Here the mineral ions are being loaded by the xylem, isn't it? Now here what happens in the sink? In the sink, what happens? Unloading took place, okay? Unloading took place where? In the sink. Is that clear? So this occurs by the process of active transport, okay, and by the process of osmosis. Is that clear? So yes. So in case of this xylem, the roots where the mineral ions are present, that is known as source. That is known as source. Clear? That is known as source. And the that is the young leaves, okay, the flowers where the minerals needs to be transported, okay, that is known as sink, okay, that is known as sink, right? Yes. So here what happens in the roots, from the roots loading takes place, and here what happens? The unloading takes place. Okay. Here the unloading takes place in case of the xylem, right? Yes. Now let us move into the next topic, that is remobilization of minerals. Now, as you have seen here, some of the mineral ions which are present, we have talked that some of the older leaves will be having the mineral ions, right? So they will be transporting this mineral ions to the younger leaves. So that is known as what? That is known as remobilization. Okay, let me show here once again. So this is a plant. Okay, this is a leaf. This is having what? These are the smaller leaves. Okay, so here what happens is these mineral ions which are present here, it will be transported to the younger leaves. Okay, this is known as remobilization of minerals. So it will be transported through the xylem to the younger leaves, right? This is known as of remobilization of mineral ions. Mineral ions. Clear? Yes. This is exactly known as remobilization of mineral ions. Some of the mineral ions will be easily moving, okay? Some of the mineral ions will be easily moving, okay? They are movable, okay? Whereas some of the mineral ions, it will find difficulty, okay? So some of the mineral ions will be easy to move, okay? So what are the mineral ions which will be easy to move? Such as like the elements which are readily mobilized. So some of the mineral ions, sorry, this will be mobilized, okay? This is not easy. This is mobilized. So some of the mineral ions which will be mobilized, that is mobile, okay? That is can move, right? That is mobilized means can move, okay? What are the mineral ions which can move is the nitrogen, phosphorus, okay, potassium. These are the mineral ions like nitrogen, okay, then sulfur, right, then phosphorus, okay, then potassium. These are the mineral ions which are easily mobilized, that can move from this older leaves to the new leaves, okay. But some of them are like calcium, okay, they will not move, okay, they will not move. So this calcium is not mobilized, okay. Some elements such as structural components like calcium, okay, calcium, it is not remobilized. Remember this, which elements are mobilized and which elements are not mobilized. Calcium is not mobilized. Clear? So this is all about it. Yes. Now we have come to the last topic, that is the sugar conducting tissue. So what we are going to learn in this, we are going to learn that how phloem is responsible for transportation of the prepared food from the leaves to the different parts of the plants. Okay. Now phloem, you know what is the function of phloem? That is what? Phloem is responsible for transportation of food, isn't it? Phloem, what it does? Transportation of food. Now, this phloem is made up of various elements. Okay, phloem is made up of various elements which you have learned in the anatomy chapter, right? Anatomy of flowering plants, where you have learned that phloem is made up of basically how many elements? 4 elements, right? So, what are the 4 elements? Sieve tube, okay, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fiber, right? Now, this sieve tube, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, these are all the living cells. Okay, these are what? These are all the living cells. These are the living cells. Okay. Now this phloem fiber, okay, this phloem fiber is the non-living. It is made up of dead cell. This is dead cell. Okay. Now how is the structure of the phloem? So see, the structure of the phloem is like this, right? So it has got what? It has got one sieve tube. This is the sieve tube. Okay, sieve tube has got sieve plate. Sieve tube will not have nucleus. It does not have nucleus. So it has got various pores here. Sieve tube has got various pores here. Okay, sorry, sieve plate has got various pores. This is what? This is sieve plate. Okay, now this is what? This is sieve tube, right? Now this is what, here you will find various cells. Okay, here you will find various cells. These cells are having nucleus. Okay, these cells are what? These cells are the companion cells. Okay, these cells are companion cells. These are what? These are the companion cells which are having nucleus, which are having nucleus. Now, this companion cells, it shares its nucleus with the sieve tube. Okay, so the companion cells are attached to the sieve tube, okay, through the plasmodesmata, and it shares the nucleus also. So here you will find one fiber like this. So here you will find fiber that is known as phloem fiber, and also you will find some cells also. Okay, these are the parenchyma cell and this is the fiber. Now, in case of the transportation process, okay, remember, in case of the transportation process, the sieve tube, okay, this sieve tube and the companion cells, sieve tube and the companion cells, they play a major role. Okay, sieve tube and the companion cells are very much essential for the sugar conducting tissue, that is phloem. Okay, so this one is sieve tube and this one is companion cell. So they are responsible for the transportation of the sucrose from the leaves to the sink. Okay, that is the roots. We will learn about it, that is the source sink theory. What is this? Okay, let us see. Phloem transport from source to sink. Okay, now what happens in that case is, so you know that this is a plant, right? Yes, this is a plant. So here what happens is, this is what? This is the leaf. Okay, let me take this color only. This is the leaf. Okay, okay. So in the leaf, the food is being prepared. So let's say this blue color are the food, right? These are the foods, okay? Where the food is being prepared, that is, this is known as what? This is known as source, okay? That is leaves where the food is prepared. That is known as what? Here, this is the source, okay? This is what? This is the source. Here, the food is being prepared. Now, it needs to be transported. It needs to be transported to the roots also, isn't it? The roots also, it needs food. Otherwise, it will die, right? With the help of mineral ions, it cannot survive. It also needs food in the form of what? In the form of sucrose, right? So here, the roots where the food needs to be transported, that is known as sink. Clear? That is known as sink, okay? That is known as sink. So it is done with the help of what? With the help of phloem, okay? With the help of phloem. So let us learn about it, okay? So see, phloem transport from source to sink, okay? So food, primarily sucrose. What is the food? In which form the food is prepared here? In which form the food is prepared? The food is prepared in the form of sucrose. In the form of sucrose. The plant, it take the food in the form of sucrose. Clear? So this sucrose need to be transported from the leaves to the different parts of the plants. Okay. So see what happens here. During this process, the loading, okay, the loading and unloading, two things take place. One is loading and another one is unloading, okay, unloading of the minerals or the food takes place. Unloading of the sucrose takes place, okay. So during this process, loading and the unloading of the sucrose takes place, and here ATP is involved, that is active transportation takes place. What happens here? Active transportation is taking place, okay. Here active, okay, active transportation is taking place, okay. Active transportation is taking place, and when active transportation takes place, you know that it requires ATP. It is against the concentration gradient, right? Active transport is against the concentration gradient, so it requires ATP. So loading and unloading of the mineral, that is the sucrose, takes place, and where the active transport is being involved, and that is ATP is being used, okay. So yes, so the primary sucrose, that is primarily sucrose, is transported by the vascular tissue phloem from a source to sink. Clear? So that is food is being transported from the source, that is leaf is the source, right? Here the sucrose is being present. These are what? These are the sucrose, okay? It needs to be transported to the sink, that is the roots, right? Yes, usually the source is understood to be a part of the plant which synthesizes the food, that is the leaf, and the sink is the part of the plant that stores the food, that is the roots, okay? So what is the source here? I have already said that source is the leaf where the food is being prepared, right? So leaf is the place where the food is being prepared. Food is being prepared in the leaves. And what is the sink here? What is the sink here? Sink is what? Sink is the root where the food will be stored. Where the food will be stored. Is that clear? Right? Yes. So it may be reversed depending upon the season or the plant needs. So it can also be reversed. Okay. And in phloem, one more important thing is here. In phloem transportation, the transportation is bidirectional. The transportation is what? The transportation in phloem is bidirectional. Okay. What do you mean by this bidirectional? That is from the leaf. It can come here also. It can go to the root also. And again from the root also it can come here. It can go to this leaf also. That is, it is bidirectional. Okay. In both the direction it can go. Right? Let's move into the next. Then sugar stored in the root may be mobilized to become a source of food in the early spring when the birds of the trees act as the sink. Okay, the sugar which is being stored in the leaf, it will be mobilized. Okay, so yes, it needs energy for the growth. So yes, it is energy in the form of ATP and for the photosynthetic apparatus, right? Since the source sink relationship is variable, okay, here you are going to understand about the source and the sink relationship, okay. The direction of the movement in the phloem can be upward or downward. That is bidirectional, I have said, right? The direction of the molecules the direction of the food can be upward, or it can be, what? It can be downward. That is, both takes place, okay? Upward and downward. Both takes place, right? That is, it is bidirectional, right? Yes. Next, let us learn the translocation in minerals from source to sink. Now we are learning about the source and sink theory, or source sink relationship, okay? This is also known as mass flow hypothesis, okay? This is also known as mass flow hypothesis, okay? Now, what happens here? Listen carefully. So, what happens? This is a plant, okay? Right? This is a plant. Now, it is having leaf, okay? This is a big leaf, okay? Where the food is being prepared, okay? Where the food is being prepared, right? Now, the phloem, okay? The phloem will be having different elements we talked about, right? The phloem has got different elements, right? That is, here the sieve tube is present. That is, this is the sieve tube, right? And here, these are the companion cells. Again, this is sieve tube, right? And these are the companion cells, okay? These are the companion cells, right? Now here, near the sieve tube, what is present near the sieve tube? Again, the trachea will be present, okay? This is what, that is xylem. Near the sieve tube, xylem will be present, right? In the plant, okay? What is present? Both phloem tissue and xylem tissue is present, right? So let me draw it with different color. This is what, this is the companion, okay? This is, let's draw one only, okay? Let me remove this part, okay? Yes. Now, let me make the companion cells bigger. Yes, so this is what, these are the companion cells, okay? Companion cells has got nucleus. As you know that companion cell has nucleus, and here the sieve tubes are present, okay? Now, what is present in the xylem? In the xylem, water is present, right? In the xylem, water is present, right? Now, the food which is prepared is in the form of what? Sucrose, okay? Is in the form of sucrose. The food is prepared here in the form of sucrose. And this is what? This is the source. This is the source where the food is being prepared, right? This is the source. And here what happens? Here the roots are present, right? Under the soil, the various roots are present, isn't it? The roots are present here. And this is known as what? This is known as sink, where the food will be stored. Clear? So the root is known as what? The root is known as sink. Okay. Now the prepared food. What happens to the prepared food? The prepared food will come here, and go to the companion cell. Okay. Go to where? To the companion cell. And then from the companion cell, it will go to the sieve tube. Okay. It will go to where? It will go to the sieve tube. Now, here what happens from the xylem, water also comes here, okay? Water also comes here to the sieve tube. As a result, what happens, okay? There, as a result, what happens? High pressure builds up, okay? As a result, high pressure builds up here, okay? So the pressure here is what? The pressure here is high, okay? So that means what? That means loading of the mineral ions took place. So here what happened is the loading took place, right? Here the loading took place, okay? The loading of the sucrose took place here. Is that clear? So it involved, that is ATP. So it is true active transport, okay? It is true active transport, okay? It is true active transport. Now here high pressure develop. Because of this high pressure, what happens? It is forced down, okay? This sucrose is pushed downwards, okay? The sucrose is pushed downwards. That is basically push happens here. Okay, so from the high pressure, because here high pressure develop as the water molecules also comes in the sieve tube. So because of high pressure, it will move towards the low pressure. So here it is having what? It is having the low pressure here. Here it is having what? Low pressure. So because of this movement of the water from the xylem to the sieve tube, what happens? That is high pressure develops and it pushes the sucrose to the roots. Okay, that is here low pressure is being created in the roots. Okay, this is known as what? This is known as unloading. This is known as what? This is known as unloading. So basically here what happens? Loading and unloading taking place, right? Unloading is taking place. While loading, it is having high pressure. While unloading, it is having low pressure, right? While loading, it is having high pressure. While unloading, it is having low pressure. Is that clear? So from the source, it is being transported to the sink. This is known as source sink relationship. Okay, so loading at the source. So you can write it down that the sugar which is produced in the produced in photosynthesis entered the sieve tube, okay, by active transport. Is that clear? The sugar, that is the sucrose, it will enter into the sieve tube by the active transport, right? Then what happens? Then water enters into the sieve tube from the xylem by osmosis, increasing the pressure in the sieve tube. So here you can see water is again coming from the xylem and it is entering into the sieve tube, and because of this, the what happens? High pressure develops, isn't it? Because of this, the water moves by osmosis, right? Yes, high pressure pushes the solute towards the sink. Okay, so as the high pressure develops, now because of this high pressure, it will move towards the sink. Okay, and there a low pressure is being created. So unloading of the sink. So what happens? Unloading takes place where? In the sink. Loading takes place where? In the source. So as the sink is reached, solutes are unloaded by facilitated diffusion or active transport, and the water moves out of the phloem to the xylem by osmosis, decreasing the pressure in the sieve tube. So see here what happens when the unloading is taking place. When the unloading is taking place, the water will move outside. Okay, the water also move outside, and it causes what? It causes the low pressure in the sieve tube. Okay, yes. Now phloem transport, yes. What is the phloem transport? That is the sucrose, carbohydrates, okay, which are produced in the leaves. It needs to be transported from the leaves to different parts of the plants, right? Yes, this translocation provides building blocks for actively growing regions of the plant. So because of this translocation, all the parts of the plants are getting food, isn't it? Yes. And the carbohydrate and the nutrient rich move to the body called the sap. Okay, sap is nothing but the food. So you can write it down. These are the pathways of the mass flow hypothesis or the pressure flow hypothesis, right? What happens here? The glucose is prepared at the source by the photosynthesis, which is converted into sucrose, right? Then the sucrose moves into the companion cells, then into the sieve tube, and by transport, that is active transportation, the sucrose will move into the companion cells and then to the sieve tube, right? And here active transport is involved, right? And here what happens? Loading taking place, isn't it? So when loading takes place, what happens? The water also moves from the xylem, right? The water also comes from the xylem to the sieve tube, and here it creates high pressure. Because of this high pressure, what happens? Unloading is taking place in the sink. Okay, unloading takes place in the sink. So this is very, very simple. Loading takes place in the source. Okay, loading takes place in the source. So this is source sink relationship, and this is also called as mass flow hypothesis or the pressure flow hypothesis. Clear? So yes, you can see the diagram which is given in your NCRT. This is what I have explained. So yes, right? So this is all about it. In today's class, we have learned about that is transpiration, what is the structure of stomata, and also we have seen the functions of this transpiration, isn't it? And also we have learned about the mass flow hypothesis, that is how phloem is transporting the food, right? So this is what we have that is what you have learned in today's session. I hope you have understood what is being discussed. So this is the end of your chapter number 11. In my next class, we'll be starting with your chapter number 12. So I'll meet you in my next class. Till then, take care and bye-bye.